Good morning, viewers. Welcome to Top of the Morning by Mint, your weekday newscast that brings you 5 major stories from the world of business. It's Wednesday, April 16th, 2025. This is Nelson John. Let's get started. India wants to go beyond assembling gadgets. It wants to design them. The centre is planning a design-linked incentive scheme worth up to $4 billion to turn India into a serious player in global electronics and chip design, officials told Mint's Shuvik. The goal here is to create homegrown IP, reduce import dependence, and give India a shot at owning the tech inside the tech. This new DLI scheme will support 30 semiconductor and 30 electronic product categories, from Wi-Fi and 5G chips to EV components and smart meters. Incentives will be based on investment and turnover, with a clear push to encourage patents, standards, and tech ownership. Now, this is about building an ecosystem. Fabless chip makers, original design manufacturers, IP creators. India's electronic manufacturing boomed under earlier PIL schemes, but the value was mostly in assembly. Now, as the mobile phone PILs phase out by next year, the government wants to push the envelope, literally into the design board. The contrast is stark. India files around 60,000 patents a year. The US and China? Closer to 1 million. That's the gap where this scheme hopes to make a dent. If cleared by the cabinet, this could be India's next big leap from Make in India to Design in India. India just got a breather on inflation, and it's a big one. In March, retail inflation slowed to 3.34%, the lowest since August 2019, thanks largely to a drop in food prices. Now, that's below the February's 3.61% and last year's 4.85%, according to official data. Food inflation, often the wallet pincher for households, eased to 2.69%, a sharp fall from 8.5% a year ago. Vegetables, eggs, and pulses led the decline, even as fruit prices stayed stubbornly high. Economists see this as more than a seasonal dip. Headline inflation undershot RBI's expectations and even dropped below its target range, said DBS Bank's Radhika Rao. With inflation easing and growth forecasts being trimmed, the Reserve Bank of India has already made a move, cutting the policy repo rate to 6% last week. More cuts could follow in June. 12 Indian states reported inflation below the national average. And with cereals inflation at a 33-month low, consumers could see further relief. As Kotak's Upasana Bharadwaj puts it, the RBI will now be more focused on supporting growth, with the terminal repo rate likely around 5 to 5.25%. A softening inflation story, finally some room to breathe. Ericsson's India dream run is slowing down. The Swedish telecom gear maker reported its sixth straight quarterly sales drop in the country, with revenue down 28% year-on-year to 3.85 billion Swedish crowns, or about 3,360 crore rupees in the January to March quarter. The reason? Airtel and Jio have largely wrapped up their 5G rollouts. Network sales declined, primarily reflecting more normalized operator investment levels in India, the company stated. But here's the twist. Sequentially, sales jumped 32%, thanks to fresh deals with Vodafone Idea for its 4G and 5G build-out and a multi-year contract extension from Airtel. Despite India still being Ericsson's second biggest market, its share of the company's global revenue slipped to 7%, down from 10% a year ago. However, globally, Ericsson's story is brighter. Total sales rose 3% year-on-year, and net profit surged 63% to 3,669 crore rupees. CEO Borje Ekholm summed it up: "We've sustained solid momentum despite a challenging and fast-changing macro backdrop. Looking ahead, we expect enterprise to stabilize during 2025." The 5G boom in India may be cooling, but Ericsson is betting its long-term network bets will hold. Here's a headline that would have sounded absurd 2 decades ago. IndiGo is now the world's most valuable airline. With a market cap of $23.45 billion, the 18-year-old Indian carrier has leapfrogged past Delta, American Airlines, and Lufthansa. It's a stunning rise for a company born just a decade after India opened up aviation to the private sector. IndiGo's surge isn't random. India is now the fastest growing aviation market in the world. Boeing expects the region's commercial fleet to quadruple by 2043, with air traffic growing over 7% annually. And IndiGo? It's already locked in orders for hundreds of aircraft, long before the global supply crunch hit. Its stock is up 40% over the past year. Institutional investors are piling in, betting on its dominance. IndiGo controls over 60% of India's skies in a market where rivals like Kingfisher and Jet Airways have crashed out. Yes, there are concerns, slipping service quality, market concentration, and the risk of a global slowdown. But investors are rewarding resilience. IndiGo has weathered every major storm in Indian aviation since 2006 and come out stronger each time. Its climb is also a clear vote for privatization. When governments step back, some companies take off. India's diamond story is losing its shine, and fast. Exports of cut and polished diamonds dropped nearly 15% in FY25 to 1.12 trillion rupees, hitting a 20-year low. Overall, gems and jewelry exports fell almost 10%. It's the third straight year of decline. The fall began with the pandemic, worsened by sanctions on Russian diamond supplies, and now it's consumer demand from the US and China, the world's biggest luxury markets, that's drying up. To make matters worse, Trump's Liberation Day tariff spike on Indian goods, though paused for now, has rattled the industry. Imports of rough-cut diamonds also fell over 16% as trade volume shrank. But there's a glimmer of hope. Gold jewelry exports are still growing, albeit modestly. And Trump's tariff exemptions on smartphones and pharma offers some optimism that more categories might follow. But the real threat, though, is lab-grown diamonds. They're priced at a fraction of the natural ones and are shaking up the market. In Surat, once the heart of diamond trade, many factories have shut and skilled workers have been laid off. Industry leaders are pushing for support, tax relief, credit access, and a national diamond promotion campaign. The sparkle hasn't vanished, but the industry needs more than just polish to bounce back. That's all for today. Thank you for joining in. We are eagerly looking forward to our next Top of the Morning episode, which will be packed with the latest in business news. Until then, this is Nelson John signing off. Have a wonderful Wednesday.